Hi, welcome to Healing Humanity. My name is Dina, and I want to talk to you today about keeping the faith. So, how do you keep the faith when everything else around you goes wrong? When people seem to come against you and you don't know why, or you keep running into obstacles over and over again, and you're not really sure where to turn or why it's all happening? I would have to say, the first thing that you have to do is to really dig within yourself and to find that peace within you, to know that when you look in the mirror you've done the very best you could that day, and to know that you trust yourself and you trust your God to be able to get up the next day and try again. you know it, it's so easy because everybody wants to be successful, but nobody wants to actually do the work. Nobody wants to do the hard stuff. And the hard stuff is to work at something and to do something when nobody supports you, when nobody sees your vision, when nobody cares what you're doing. Um, to carry that energy, that positivity into your work, into the people that you're you know helping or supposed to be helping, um, and to be there for yourself, right? Because I was just listening to something yesterday. It was through practicing the way, and um, he was saying how most of us in life have a 14 to 1 ratio, with the 14 to 1 ratio is a negative thoughts are 14 and one positive thought. And I thought that's really profound, and it's probably really true, because I remember being young and being filled with a lot of negativity, a lot of negative thoughts, carrying things that I thought I let go of, but still really carrying it in my heart. Um, and that anger has to go somewhere. It develops in aches and pains. It develops in illnesses. It can develop in cancer. It can it can just skew your whole emotional well-being and your physical well-being. So the one thing that you can do, and the one thing that's constant in our lives, is God. And at least it was in mine. Um, you know, did I always walk a path with Jesus? No, absolutely not. I was a sinner just like you are. Um, you know, did what I wanted to do, and enjoyed my life, and whatever that meant. Um, we all do it, and God expects that of us when we're younger. But when we get older and we know better, and we realize what the truth is, we realize that we have to change our ways, right? And with those changing of the ways comes, putting yourself into the wilderness, or being allowed to, allow yourself to be put into the wilderness, to sit alone, to understand where you've come from, where you are now, and where you're going to go, and to have that self love enough and that self respect enough, um, and to be able to, like, know that you can count on yourself, is super important. And to also dive into the word, that pray on a daily basis, meditate on the word, understand what God is trying to tell you through his word, because there are messages there for you. They were there for me, they'll be there for you, and they'll be there for your siblings, and everybody gets something out of it. You have to you just have to secure that inner power, however that looks like to you. You might feel lonely, or you might feel overwhelmed, or people might be coming up against you, like I said, or you might be going through all of it. I know at times I did, a lot. And um, but I always knew, number one, I could count on myself. So I had skills. I knew that. I didn't need anybody to take care of me. I knew that, I was able to make a decent enough living that I could at least feed myself at the at the very least. Um, and hopefully, and most of the time, much more than that. Um, so I had to recognize what the truths were in my life, and I had to act on those truths, right? Because we can't just sit there and wallow in sorrow, or wish that things were different, because wishing isn't going to well, wishing and wallowing isn't going to get you anywhere. um, you have to step out, you have to act, you have to choose where you're going to go. Most of my life I had goals, and I 90% of the time I met them. um, and I'm at a stage in my life right now where I've let a lot of things go, and decided to rethink a lot of things, and reformat my life. And I don't know what that's going to look like in the future. I don't know where this is all going. But me sitting in the wilderness for a few years now has done me a lot of good. It's allowed me to heal again. It's allowed me to um, overcome a lot of the hate that I was receiving. And a lot of that has stopped because I put myself into a community of people that understood what I was going through and supported me through that, emotionally. And, they may not stand by my side every day, but I know that they are active in their trying to understand what it is that's happened. And so I respect that, and through that respect, it builds more community, right? You want to give back. You want to um, channel your energy in places that will matter for the people that are showing up and trying to help, right? And so I would just say, the things that really made the difference for me is the self respect, far far more than anything else. And if you don't have any self respect, or you feel like, you look in the mirror and you have more negativity, you're running that 14-1 ratio in your life, in your mind, I would just say work on that. Number one, by far, that is the one of the most difficult things, because we can get hit from so many different areas. Our children can get it from teachers, from principals, from guidance counselors, from parents, from siblings. I mean, we're getting hit left and right, as an adult, you can get it from bosses, coworkers, people on the bus, people that you meet in the store. I mean, it could be anything, you know. So you have to be able to look in the mirror and go, okay, you know what? I did the best I could today, and that's enough. And that is enough, truly. And you don't have to be better than that on most days. Do you want to have goals? Absolutely, of course you do. But you don't have to kill yourself and tear yourself down because you're not meeting those at that moment. It will come, a little bit at a time. That's how we move forward. Sometimes you can't take big jumps. Sometimes it's important to take little steps at a time. And that sometimes that's the only thing that you have, you know? Um, and then I would say also get into community where you feel comfortable, where, you may not be instantly accepted, but you can feel, when you walk into a room, hopefully you can sense whether there's goodness there or whether there's not. And I would just ask you to be aware of that. Spend time meditating, spend time alone and without your phone, without the electronics and the TV going or the music going. Just relax. Get into your center core and understand your own heart. Get into that, and then you'll be able to take that wherever you go. And when you walk into a room, you'll be able to tell whether or not there's good people or there's not good people, whether there's good action, through these people, or whether there's not good action through these people, because there's a lot of um, false prophets out here. There's a lot of evildoers. That's all I can say. And I would just encourage you to truly dive deep with yourself. Get to know yourself better. Get to the point where you know that you can trust yourself. You can trust your instincts. You can, I guess to say that you just have that respect, truly, the respect for yourself, um, and for, you know, the the emotions that you might have when you're meeting new people, you know, and how you can trust those, and let those emotions that you feel, and let that intuition that you feel guide you, and you won't go wrong if you do. It's when we start to argue with ourselves, when we start to make excuses for others, when we start to see things and think, oh, that might be kind of fun or challenging or different for my life. Typically, those things are probably not the most healthy for you. At least it wasn't for me. um, so how do you keep the faith? You just you keep going. You don't give up. Um, because tomorrow's a whole new day. And the next minute anything could happen. You could receive a phone call. You could get a text message that could change your life. Could literally change your life. You could have an idea that you never had before, that because you waited that extra moment or that extra day, that now you have a new path. You have a new goal. You have a new desire that you might not have realized that you even wanted the day before, when you're feeling lonely, or you're feeling upset, or you're feeling discarded. It's not easy. It's not. Life is not easy, but it is by far worth it. And you have to make it worth it. I was thinking about this earlier today when I was driving to work, and I thought, well, who are some of the most influential people that I've had in my life? And I have to say that there's been a lot, but there was this one gentleman when I was younger. I was in my 20s, and we would have very lengthy conversations, and he would tell me about his life and about his travels and about his relationship and his friendships and things that were in his life, and how he, his philosophy on his life, the things he chose to do with his time, how important education was to him. He was just very, very knowledgeable, and just really an interesting character to talk with. And most of the time I couldn't get enough of listening to anything that he had to share. And so I thought this morning, when I was heading to work, I was like, I remember listening to some of his stories and walking away thinking, I want a life like that. I want a life where I make the plans for my life, not my life make it for me. That I, in my spare time, I'm going to live my life to the fullest possible if I want to. Or if I want to, I can just stay home and do nothing. But if I want to, I want to, ride horses to the top of a mountain and picnic, in the wilderness, and then come back down on the horses. Or, I want to plan, funny adventures with people and just enjoy my life. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help others. We're here to believe in God. We're here to help God in elevating his kingdom. And part of elevating his kingdom is to find your true worth, to find your path, your goals, and to find love within your heart. And to keep the faith through all of the things that could possibly go wrong. And there are thousands, right? Thousands of things that can go wrong. But it's how you approach it and how you think about it that is the most important thing. How you think about yourself, and then how you process what's happening, and how you move forward from there, right? The choices that you make, the actions that you take. Just work first on your heart. Work first on the self-respect if you struggle with that, because that's what's going to save you many times over. And that's how you keep the faith. God's always there. He's always waiting. He always wants to be with you and share with you. In fact, I want to read this to you really quickly in James. I think I just lost it. Hold on. So in James 1, verse 12, just part of it says, "Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to those who love him. And that's the kind of life that I'm talking about. Like I want that crown. You should want that crown. Um, and so and it's available for us. It's 100% available for us. So go work on yourself, meditate, and keep the faith.